Poem of the Week number 35, Ode by Attila József, 1905 to 1937. In one sense, I would suppose that there are two kinds of artistic genius out there, the one neither necessarily greater than the other. The first, and the most common, is a kind of labourer, the artist who through a long process of maturation and deliberation has come to perfect his or her craft. And then there is a rarer, wilder, and all too often tragic breed of genius, one who, if lacking in a certain technical refinement or intellectual complexity, makes up for it with a radical, prodigious, artistic vision which he just seems to be born with, which seems to be overflowing in him and be almost too big for the artist himself, yea, even the world, to contain. In this second category, I would place the beautiful poor soul that was Attila József, a Hungarian poet who, in spite of his life being cut short by a suspected suicide at the age of 32, possessed one of the great poetic minds of the modern era. While there might certainly be an artistic progression to be seen in his work, even in his first poems, published at the age of just 17, one feels like one is reading a complete poet, one entirely grounded in his art. As always, I would like to give a greater discussion of József's poetry by highlighting a number of his poems and juxtaposing these with his Destiny's Course, but that would require time I do not currently have, perhaps in the future. In the meantime, I can simply encourage you to read more of his work by following a link in the description. As far as the poem featured here is concerned, credit has to be given to the translator, Thomas Kabdebo, who has done a very admirable job in rendering them into English. Ode. I am sitting here on a glittering wall of rocks. The mellow wind of the young summer, like the warmth of a good supper, flies around. I let my heart grow fond of silence. It is not so difficult. The past swarms around. The head bends down, and down hangs the hand. I gaze at the mountain's mane. Every leaf reflects the glow of your brow. The road is empty. Yet I can see how the wind makes your skirt flutter under the fragile branches of the tree. I see a lock of your hair tip forward, your soft breasts quiver as the stream down below is running away. Behold, I see again how the ripples on round white pebbles the fairy laughter spouts out on your teeth. Oh, how I love you, who made to speak both the wily solitude which weaves its plots in the deepest caverns of the heart and the universe, who part from me in silence and run away like the waterfall from its own rumble, while I, between the peaks of my life, near to the far, cry out and reverberate, rebounding against sky and earth, that I love you, you sweet stepmother. I love you like the child loves his mother, like silent pits love their depth. I love you like halls love the light, like the soul loves the flame, like the body loves repose. I love you like all mortals love living until they die. Every single smile, movement, word of yours I keep like the earth keeps all fallen matter. Like acids into metal, so my instincts have burnt your dear and beautiful form into my mind, and there your being fills up everything. Moments pass by, rattling, but you are sitting mutely in my ears. Stars blaze and fall, but you stand still in my eyes. Like silence in a cave, your flavour, now cool, still lingers in my mouth, and your hand upon the water glass, and the delicate veins upon your hand glimmer up before me again and again. Oh, what kind of matter am I, that your glance cuts and shapes me? What kind of soul and what kind of light, and what kind of amazing phenomenon am I, that in the midst of emptiness I can walk around the gentle slopes of your fertile body, and like the word entering into an enlightened mind I can enter into its mysteries. Your veins like rose bushes tremble ceaselessly. They carry the eternal current that love may blossom in your cheeks, and thy womb may bear a blessed fruit. Many a small root embroiders through and through the sensitive soil of your stomach, weaving knots, unwinding the tangle that the cells of your juices may align into clusters of swarming lines, and that the good thickets of your bushy lungs may whisper their own glory. The eternal matter happily proceeds in you, along the tunnels of your bowels, and the waste gains a rich life in the hot wells of your ardent kidneys. Undulating hills rise, star constellations oscillate, lakes move, factories operate, millions of living creatures, insects, seaweed, cruelty and goodness stir. The sun shines, a misty arctic light looms. Unconscious eternity roams about in your metabolism. Like clots of blood, these words fall before you. Existence stutters, only the law speaks clearly. But my industrious organs that renew me, day by day, are now preparing for silence. But until then all cry out, you, whom they have selected out of the multitude of 2,000 million people, you only one, you soft cradle, strong grave, living bed, receive me into you. How tall is the sky at dawn? Armies are dazzling in its awe. This great radiance hurts my eyes. I am lost, I believe. I hear my heart beating, flapping above me. Bye song. The train is taking me. I am going. Perhaps I may even find you today. My burning face may then cool down, and perhaps you will softly say, the water is running. Take a bath. Here is a towel for you to dry. The meat is cooking. Appease your hunger. This is your bed, where I lie. Form. In translation, free verse, with the exception of part 6, the Bye song, which consists of 2 rhymed quatrains in an irregular metre. Analysis. Part 1. It is a pleasant early summer's day. The poet is sitting alone atop a rocky wall and gazing out onto the landscape before him. In the silence, the poet takes to reminiscence. He mentions that the past is swarming about him, and in the 3rd stanza of this part it becomes clear that he is remembering a woman whom he loves. The differences in both time and place become blurred, however, as the poet looks out on the landscape and in its details sees her. The crest of the mountains is like her brow. The wind shaking the leaves of the trees reminds him of her fluttering dress and quivering breasts, and the warbling of the stream her laughter. Quote, I gaze at the mountain's mane. Every leaf reflects the glow of your brow. The road is empty, empty. Yet I can see how the wind makes your skirt flutter under the fragile branches of the tree. I see a lock of your hair tip forward. Your soft breasts quiver as the stream down below is running away. Behold, I see again how the ripples on round white pebbles the fairy laughter spouts out on your teeth. Part 2. Oh yes, how he loves her. Writing good love poetry is in many ways the ultimate test of a poet's ability. This most complex of subjects also requires a linguistic complexity for it not to fall into cliché. So if nothing else, just delight in the verbal banquet that he dishes up for us here, in portraying the paradoxical nature of a love that feels both personal and universal. Quote, made to speak both the wily solitude which weaves its plots in the deepest caverns of the heart and the universe, who part from me in silence and run away like the waterfall from its own rumble. End quote. Part 3. The first stanza, in a similar way to part 2, describes the nature of his love. The second and third stanzas, however, are about memory and time. The beloved is a collection of images and feelings that have silted in his mind and now come surging out in this poem. Since this woman is a memory, though, there is also a hint of distance here. One gets the feeling as though this might be a person with whom he has little or no intimate contact. Quote, moments pass by, rattling, but you are sitting mutely in my ears. Stars blaze and fall, but you stand still in my eyes, like silence in a cave. Your flavour, now cool, still lingers in my mouth, and your hand upon the water glass, and the delicate veins upon your hand glimmer up before me again and again. Once again, the landscape and the beloved are melded together, and the poet delights in his imagination's ability of traversing through it. Note how, though he is in the mist of emptiness, he can nonetheless walk about the slopes of her fertile body. On one hand, this part takes on a somewhat religious character. The love he feels is as a key to the enigmas of the universe, and I quote, and like the word entering into an enlightened mind, I can enter into its mysteries." End quote. And hence his beloved is also compared to the Virgin Mary. Thy womb may bear a blessed fruit. But on the other hand, the religious imagery is at the same time undermined by the carnality of the imagery here. Quote, "Many a small root embroiders through and through the sensitive soil of your stomach, weaving knots, unwinding the tangle that the cells of your juices may align into clusters of swarming lines, and that the good thickets of your bushy lungs may whisper their own glory." End quote. And it's a fleshliness that is so deep that it even encompasses her digestive system. Quote, "The eternal matter happily proceeds in you, along the tunnels of your bowels, and the waste gains a rich life in the hot wells of your ardent kidneys." End quote. Part 5. The distance hinted at earlier becomes much more obvious here. There is an impossibility in his longing. His words fall before her like clots of blood. His existence stutters, and he is preparing himself for silence. The second and third stanzas close this part as a kind of a supplication to the beloved for acceptance. Part 6. The fact that the final part is called a by-song, and that it is entirely presented between parentheses, indicates that it is different from the rest of the poem. It is also the only part to be written in some kind of regular form, 2 quatrains of rhymed verse. The poet is no longer sitting and looking out over the landscape as before, but he is riding the train. We do not know where he is going, but his mind is consumed with the rather hopeless idea that he might, by chance, cross paths with a woman that he loves today. There is a leap from wish to fulfillment in the last stanza, which closes with an image of a longed-for future of domestic banality, so unlike the love-filled inebriation of the rest of the poem.